And we're back with another episode. Hi, Kyle.
Hi there. Queen. Queen shirt.
I hate you.
Queen bee.
I love that I had this shirt on and you wait until we start recording to say that.
I like it. It's cool.
And for those that aren't watching, my shirt says Queen and has a Queen card on it.
Queen.
You're the queen in this house.
No.
A little bit. Yeah, so this Sunday is Easter.
Easter week.
Haven't really had a holiday in a while. I like Easter, but I think we're at a weird age for us right now. I think we've maxed out Easter in our life now. It's not really a thing, I think, until we have kids.
I feel like of all the holidays that occur throughout the year, Easter has lost the most momentum over the years.
For everyone or for us?
I think for everyone. I feel like it's not like a really celebrated day.
I think
anymore.
It might still be, just not for us.
Really?
In
I
our
feel like
lives.
you don't even hear about it. I think that's because like Christmas is always December 25th.
Mm-hmm.
Halloween's always October 31st. When's Easter?
April.
But you have no idea, right? Because I think
isn't Thanksgiving like that, or it's the Thursday?
Thanksgiving, the third Thursday of every November. Okay.
Yeah.
But Easter doesn't really have a date. So how do you plan for it? It's not exciting, and it doesn't have a set meal either. Well, I guess you could say Easter ham.
Yeah, it definitely has a set meal, and then I think
I put ham in the same category as turkey, though.
Ham's good. You like ham?
I prefer ham to turkey for sure.
Yeah,
but it's still nothing to get too excited about.
I like flowers, and I like the Easter colors. We just don't obviously we're not decorating for Easter. It just comes and goes too quick. I like Easter candy.
Yeah, I like Easter candy, I suppose.
Yeah, I like the one, I forget what they're called. They're like the little chocolate eggs, like the Cadbury little chocolate eggs with the shell on them.
Cadbury cream eggs?
Not the cream eggs. That was my favorite candy growing up. But now the thought of eating one of those disgusts me so much.
Same with me.
And I like candy and stuff. But that was by far and away my favorite. What's your favorite candy? Cadbury eggs.
Yeah, I used to love them too.
I would eat 4 of them in a row.
Yeah.
Obsessed.
That
felt like it was such a bougie candy too.
It did. But you know what's really taken made a lot of steps is jelly beans. Jelly beans used to just be generic jelly beans. But now when you think of jelly beans, you think of jelly bellies, which are super robust in flavor and wacky flavors and colors. Whereas the old school ones are just kind of all tasted the same except the black ones.
Yeah, I used to like the packs of my mom would put just a jar or bowl of just black ones.
You like the black ones?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
I don't really love jelly beans, but the black ones, I'll eat an entire handful of them.
But I don't think many people get the old school jelly beans anymore. Mostly jelly bellies, I would say.
Yeah, probably more the old school one, just decoration. Yeah. But now every candy has jelly beans. There's Starburst jelly beans, Swedish Fish jelly beans, all those.
Right.
But yeah, Cadbury eggs, to eat them now would be
tough.
It is giving me a headache thinking about it right now.
Yeah.
And then your fingers getting all sticky because you
What is that goo in there? It's just
a
sugar
cream. Yeah. It's supposed to be the yolk.
Right.
I used to fuck them up.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you'd eat a little bit of the tin foil because it was stuck to the chocolate.
Another thing that's changed why I think Easter's not as celebrated anymore is I remember when I was a kid and I lived in New York, upstate New York, but that time of the year was warm. I remember playing outside and it was a warm spring day. There'd be flowers and you'd be playing
well, you do the Easter egg hunt outside.
Yeah, you'd be playing with some of your Easter basket toys, that thing that the ball sticks to, the Velcro catch. I feel that was in the box.
Or the one with the string where you just bounce it.
Right, something like that. Or chalk on the driveway.
Yeah, chalk is a big Easter
thing. But now I feel this time of the year in New York State is fucking the same as the middle of the winter. It's freezing.
Yeah. Did you get good Easter baskets?
I mean, nothing crazy.
You weren't like amped for it.
No, I wouldn't say I was amped.
I feel like I always got good Easter baskets.
Yeah.
I always got like something like, were you just candy?
No, there'd be like I said, like that
Like one toy.
like that paddle that the Velcro sticks to
Every year.
Well, that or like like
A football.
things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would get like a DVD.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Or like a CD or something. Like some,
Yeah.
you get like one thing and then like socks, like cool, like funny socks or something.
Sure.
Yeah.
Kyle,
Yeah.
I have a question for you.
Oh,
What's that, Zane?
How familiar are you with Britney Spears?
Pretty familiar.
What's your favorite song?
Oh,
he knows Britney.
I definitely know Britney. Like off the top of my head, I can't think of like I could only think of like her first song.
Do you?
Are you surprised that Britney's back in the news again?
I mean, she's kind of been in the news with that whole.
Do you know what conservatorship?
Conservatorship.
Do you know what's new with her now?
No. Well, her Instagram's wacky. I know that.
But do you know what like is new right now?
What's new right now?
What's happening to her?
I have no idea.
You haven't heard?
No.
Okay, why don't you read her Instagram caption?
I have it pulled up for you right now.
I love my favorite thing to do. First of all, anyone that looks like Britney Spears, obviously her Instagram captions are very crazy.
Okay,
so
so
read
you
her
want me to read this
her current Instagram
aloud?
post. Yeah, read it out loud.
Britney Spears. I lost so much weight to go to Maui trip only to gain it back. I thought, geez, what happened to my stomach? My husband said, no, you're food pregnant, silly. So I got a pregnancy test and, well, I'm having a baby. 4 days later, I got a little more food pregnant. It's growing. If 2 are in there, I might just lose it. Obviously, I won't be going out as much due to the paps getting their money shot of me, like they unfortunately already have. It's hard because when I was pregnant, I had prenatal depression. I have to say it's absolutely horrible. Women didn't talk about it back then. Some people considered it dangerous if a woman complained like that with a baby inside her. But now women talk about it every day. Thank Jesus we don't have to keep that pain a reserved proper secret. This time we'll be doing yoga every day, spreading lots of joy and love. Okay, so she's pregnant?
Yeah. I mean, that's what
Why did I have to read that?
Is it's insane.
Is it insane that she's pregnant or just like
Well, like
that?
she posted that and everyone's like, wait, is that so you're pregnant? Like, 'cause she's not very clear.
But she was like a food pregnancy. I thought like, oh, I'm having a, like
a
if you
food
eat like a
baby.
burrito, like I'm having a food baby.
Yeah.
But she's actually pregnant?
I mean, she posted that today and people are like, I guess she's pregnant. That was her pregnancy announcement.
Yeah.
And the picture is like a cup of coffee.
Interesting.
What do you think?
I would be surprised if she is pregnant,
Mm-hmm.
but I think she's just like an insane person, right?
It's sad.
It's sad for sure. Yeah.
It's weird because before with the conservatorship, I was always like, free Britney. And like, she definitely should, but she definitely needs some sort. It wasn't all completely made up, like her being a little crazy.
Well, yeah, but that's irrelevant. You're allowed to be
it's
crazy.
irrelevant,
You're allowed,
for
even
sure.
if you get like, billions of dollars, you could just like set it on fire. Just use it as,
Mhm.
to warm your house.
Yeah.
You can do anything you want with your money. If
Right,
it's her
I
money,
agree.
No one should tell her anything. She should be allowed to do anything she wants.
No, and I agree with that. I'm just saying, like, she's definitely like spiraling.
Yeah, I'm sure that probably didn't help though.
Do you think, and that's my thing, is I wonder if she was always like that or if her being under the conservatorship definitely made it worse.
I think that it definitely made it worse because, there's a million people who are like crazy and
Mhm.
they have their kids and they're kind of, do the best they can, but they're crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, she had all kinds of money. She could hire help and it
Yeah.
would have been just a more like free, good life. Like she basically was like in house arrest for
Yes.
15 years. Do house arrest for like the weekend.
Mhm.
Don't leave your house, or, have a budget of $100 for the weekend.
Think
You
about like
lose your mind. You do
yeah.
that for 15 years.
I mean, she was basically on like COVID, like quarantine
Right.
for 20 years, 15 years.
Right. So it's not, I don't really blame her.
Yeah.
But how did you know that, Zane? Did Caitlin tell
told
you,
I
or
told him.
are you up on Britney Spears?
You'll never know. You'll never know, I guess.
Someone's got to bring the Britney news up on his podcast, because
thanks
if
for
I leave
bringing
it to you guys, it'll never be brought up.
Well, there's another time that I was uncomfortable that you forced me to read something aloud, and people probably judge me. I hate reading out loud.
No, but you're really good at that's one of my favorite things about you is your ability to read crazy people's like Facebook posts or statuses or captions. Like when people write something
that's like really
illiterate.
Hard to read.
Yeah.
I'm not good at that. You know who's amazing at that? I have two friends that both are absolutely amazing at that.
Too.
Yes. Gregor.
Oh, yeah.
Because Gregor texts with all these like illiterate Long Island wrestling dads all day, this scheduling practice, and they spell everything wrong.
Yeah.
And they use like the wrong like form of certain words, and it's just complete gibberish. And Gregor could translate it and read it no problem. And you know who else can do that is Gordon Ryan.
That's who I know. He's perfect at that.
Gordon, God rest his soul, but he used to read his father's text messages, Big Gord. Big Gord would send him like incoherent dribble, and he would send us like voice recordings of these messages. And it was the funniest thing ever. But if I were to try to read that, I would sound just like I sounded reading Britney's. Like, I can't do it, because you don't realize when you're reading something out loud, you're really reading like ahead of, you're anticipating what it should say, right? You're like filling in the blanks.
To get the timing.
That's why like punctuation is so important. Like if there's not a comma in the right spot, like you're anticipating that breath, you're anticipating that period. But if people don't have commas,
or they always do ...
just just long sentences are very hard to read.
Is that why you always do ...
I think if I'm not doing like formal writing, I use ... in my texts, or I like space them out. Like I'll write the first idea, then I space, then the next idea, then I space. So because I don't use formal punctuation in text messages, but I use ... when I go in between ideas.
Which that's normal. But people do that.
Or I put like,
enter.
I'm going to the store. Enter. What time will you be over? Enter. Do you want to watch the fights tonight?
I've adopted that from you. I remember when we first met and we started texting and you would text like that. I was like, this is the craziest thing I've ever, not crazy. Like, why would you do that? I was just like, whoa, I've never seen anyone text like that with the spaces. The only thing close to that, some people will text like almost like old BBM or Instant Messenger.
All in a row.
I don't like that.
I hate that.
Most of my friends, I feel like, do that.
I hate that.
I like what you do. And then I hate when people do just one run on. If you only use ... for everything, I end up not reading the message pretty much.
But I break it down into like paragraphs. Each thing I'm saying is a new.
All in one text message.
And it's funny because a lot of people have told me like, "Oh, that's so weird that you do that." But now I see several of my friends, and you do that.
I do that all the time.
Michael George does that now.
My mom does it.
Does she?
A little, yeah.
From me?
Huh? Well, probably from me doing it to her.
Yeah.
From me texting her.
Yeah,
she does it sometimes.
We
Not all the time.
Post an example of that.
Yeah, but I started texting that way from you. You're the only person I've seen do that. And I can't think off the top of my head, but there's other people that definitely do it. Or once I start texting someone like that, then they will do it back, especially if it's like kind of a long conversation.
I wish we could post a clip of Gordon reading.
We probably
like
could.
a big Gord text.
Yeah.
It's
probably
amazing.
Could.
He's sure better at that than he is at jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, for sure.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Should we for this episode?
We could probably.
Well, I'll have to ask him. I'm sure he has old texts, but I'd like to ask him to read one out loud, and then you show the text message, and then just have a voiceover of him reading it.
Oh
it's
my God.
Incredible.
I'm on it.
It's really great.
Yeah.
So aside from Easter, you're about a month out from your fight.
Yes.
Amanda Rebus.
Yep.
I saw that UFC Brazil posted it today.
Yeah, they posted. It was funny because UFC kept texting me. They text me twice about it. They're like, "Hey, I just want to be clear. Like, are you keeping?" Because obviously, I got my last name changed to Sermonara, but I still use Chikagian for the UFC.
Mhm.
Just so it's not like confusing.
Right,
It's
yeah.
just, you know what I mean. I think if
That's
I
your
was,
brand.
yeah, it's my brand, but just kind of confusing. But whatever. So I keep it the same. I haven't had issues. I changed my name 2 years ago.
Right.
But they like asked me recently, like, oh, I just want to make sure you're using that. And I think it gets confusing because I have Sermonar on my shorts.
Right.
But so then they asked, and then they asked me the other day, they're like, UFC Brazil wants to they're gonna put the poster up on Monday. But they have Sermonara. I just want to double check you're keeping Chukagian. I was like, yeah, I'm keeping that for
Oh, because they vet whatever they post.
yeah, because
that's pretty
it's
cool.
like a verified. It's through
Yeah.
UFC. It's not like
Mhm.
it's a legit account. But yeah, so they posted that today,
Yeah. Well, that's exciting.
and then I commented on it a bunch of American flags.
I saw that. So you're feeling good?
Yeah, I feel good. I feel like my last 3 fight camps trainings just go so smooth that I'm like, wait, am I like training enough, or am I don't know. I'm like, am I into it? I don't feel stressed. Like
Right.
where before, like there would always be times where in fight camp I'm stressed. Now I just feel like when I train, I'm like I've always enjoyed training, but I was always like, like felt like the fight was the next day,
Right.
you know. And now I just feel like I'm like, oh, this is fun. I'm getting better. Oh, this is cool. Like I think I just have done it so many times now that I trust the process. Where if I'm a little tired, I know it's not a big deal, and that's just part of camp. And you know, if I have like a bad day training, I can like laugh about it and just be like, well, all right, I worked on cardio today, you know, it wasn't that good. But I know if I have a shitty day, then instead of getting like so upset about it and think about it all day, I just go, oh, well, then if I had a bad day today, then most likely my next day will be better because you don't really have that many bad days in a row.
Right.
And, but yeah, it's just like sometimes I'm like, wait, am I training hard enough? I'm like, no, I am. I'm just not stressing at all.
Just how many different like places you go to, that the fact that you've kind of, I don't know, like put together your own, I guess like your own training camp and surrounded yourself with like all the best people and everything. But you see like how many different coaches a week?
So many.
Like
I can't like
5?
thank someone like in the cage after my fight because I just work with so many people, and I'm like, not that I'm not.
No, like more than 5. Like
I'm like
7.
Yeah.
Then if you count like yoga and PT.
Yeah, it's crazy. I do so much, but then that's why sometimes they're always like even like they'll be like, oh, do you want someone to come out and train with you, or do you want to fly someone out to train with you for this camp? I'm like, no one can train with no one
No.
can move here and train with me because I mean I would like that in theory it's good, but I'm like, no one's gonna like go from gym to gym and be able to keep up with that, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I've had people ask that too. Like, they'll be, oh, I'm thinking about moving to Long Island. I want to like train with Caitlin. Like, no, that it will not work because just financially, like if you were just like an up and comer or something, like financially to afford all those coaches and to go to all
Yeah.
those different gyms,
I mean,
it's like the least like
efficient
way to do it, but
It's the best.
it's for you. I think it's the best.
Yeah. I mean, there's like
Most people go to one gym.
They
Like
go
if you
to-
train at AKA or ATT, you go to one gym, in and out of one gym.
Yeah,
Twice
you
a
might go
day.
twice a day. So they go to the gym, go home. And then it's crazy on like days where I train on Long Island, just on Long Island, and like maybe one gym or just 2 gyms. I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I didn't train today, but I trained twice. It's just that it was like
2 different gyms though,
so-
all over Long Island. 3
Mhm.
different gyms in Long Island that you go to.
I mean, today I went to 3 different gyms.
Yeah.
I went to Long Island. I made to do pads with Ryan, and then Sarah's for jujitsu. And then I went to like a regular gym for like cardio.
Yeah.
And like yesterday, yesterday I was at 2 different gyms that weren't any of the ones I went to today. So in the last 2 days I've had 5 workouts, 5 different gyms.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Pretty
I just
crazy.
kind of figure I know what's good for me, and that might not be that's the best training for me, but that might not necessarily be the best training for everyone else. Even maybe a girl. Like, well, for a girl, I think it's the best training. Because a lot of it is based off of training partners that I have, coaches that can give me time and work on my specific skills.
Right.
I mean, I could do all my training at, Long Island MMA. They have all that, but for me, I need like higher level girls to like spar with or to do jujitsu with. I go to like Sarah's, which is the best. Like, there's no one gym that I could get the best at everything.
Right. But you get the best coach at Long Island MMA, and then you get the best coach at Belmore Kickboxing. And like you find your specific people to work with.
Yeah, and
I think that's pretty cool. And it's also cool that the coaches aren't like, well, no, that's I hate when coaches say the term "my fighter." Like you would never work with a coach like that, but a lot of coaches get offended or like they get overprotective. Like, well, no, that's my fighter. Like, no, it's not your anything. You're just like a piece of the like puzzle.
Yeah.
And I think that it's cool that all your coaches are comfortable enough with, themselves to be like, yeah, I'm a part of her training camp.
Yeah. I think a lot of that is too knowing that that's just my personality where I'm like, oh, like, I think they kind of know what they're getting.
Fly with you.
They know what they're getting, and also too, everyone that I work with isn't like that. And if someone is like that, they could be probably the best coach in the world. But if they were like that kind of possessive, which I would say most people in martial arts, jiu-jitsu and MMA are like that.
Right.
Very territorial and,
definitely.
But if they could be the best coach, I could love it. If they do say one comment about that, I'm like, oh, I'm out. Like, because now our personalities don't match, and I'm like, I kind of don't respect you, so I can't listen to anything else you say. If you're trying
that's a weird thing that some coaches do.
It's a very controlling thing, and it's something that I don't know if it's just me, or maybe I'm more like observant of it. I think girl fighters fall into that trap so much. I've seen coaches that like try to control girl fighters and like will give them shit or say something about them, not them training, but then that person will have a guy fighter and they don't do that because they know there's that type of like, if they try to tell that guy what to do, the guy's gonna be like,
they're maybe a little afraid of the guy.
Where I think I've seen it where the guy coaches use almost like intimidate. They know who they can intimidate, and sometimes it's some of the girls, and where they feel bad. It's
right.
I see that. That's probably like the biggest thing. Like if I could like ever like give advice for girls training and fighting, and not to be all like crazy, but that's like, don't try to be aware of that and stay away from that. And if you have to like speak up and be like, no, I'm doing this, like, and if they don't want to train with you or train you anymore, then let it go. Cause that's so creepy and so weird.
Yeah. It's just super important to have the right people around, obviously. Huge part of your success. How's your diet?
It's good. What's funny is before I got this fight, we had been like on a health kick. Obviously not to the extent that I'm doing now, but still like have like treats here and there. But I think that kind of helped me into it, so it didn't feel like a big deal.
Right.
And you always kind of like try to eat like healthier when I'm in camp, but not like, I feel like you're eating like just as healthy as me.
Yeah.
You're just not like weighing out your food. Yeah. But you've been eating like so healthy, and that definitely does help. I mean, I don't know if it helps. I say that, but there's been times where I'm like, why don't you order pizza? Like, order pizza.
Ugh, I haven't eaten pizza now for like
February 17th.
Yeah, for like a month and a half, and now the idea of I'm like, oh, I don't want that. I can't eat that right now.
Yeah.
Like I'm just, and everyone sometimes asks, like, what's your diet like? My diet is I don't eat anything gluten, so no bread, pasta, pizza, and then I only eat like whole foods.
Yeah.
Mostly like meat, fruit. I do eat some rice, some sweet potato. No
I guess
gluten.
you would consider it's on kind of paleo, but not really.
Yeah, I guess paleo.
But like you'll have like, I think paleo is like no dairy. You'll have like yogurt sometimes.
Yeah.
So basically that, but it's not any specific diet. It's just like basically whole foods.
Yeah. But I feel so much better the last month or so. I feel great. But I'm just eating like just a healthier diet, where yours is so much more science involved, where you have
Yeah.
to weigh the carbohydrates and weigh the fat, and like
Mhm.
every single thing that you eat is weighed, and to the gram what
Mhm.
what you're able to eat. And it was just kind of funny. We had it's just because not everyone knows like how involved your diet is.
Yeah, because I don't really like talk about it, you
Right.
know.
But we had one of our good friends asked us out to dinner the other night. He's like, "Oh, you want to go out?
In the
We're
city.
going to the city. We can go to Sauce and get a cauliflower crust pizza. That way, Caitlin can eat." And I'm thinking, like, wait, no. Caitlin can't even eat more than 2 grams of rice. She weighs out every single thing. Like
Mhm.
cauliflower crust pizza is not healthy.
Yeah, like when I weigh out my chicken, it's 114 grams. So when I put the chicken on, if it's 120 grams, I cut a piece off until I get there.
Right.
Or like my peanut butter is like 9 grams of peanut butter.
Yeah, but it's not like you could just add in, "Oh, I'll have this. It's a healthy option of this
Yeah,
food." Like that
no.
is not healthy.
That's like for people that have like gluten intolerance but aren't dieting.
Right.
I think, you know what I mean? And people don't understand too, like sometimes I worry that like people think I'm being like a bitch, but like
we haven't done anything
go
in
to
like
the city,
5
like
weeks.
go to the city. Like I get one day off a week, but the day off isn't to go take an hour train ride into the city, walk around, go to
Exhausting.
cauliflower pizza, and then come back. Like I can't do. I mean, I would love to do that,
Right.
but I was like, that's something I do to celebrate after the fight.
Right.
My day off, I have one day off, and that day off is the point of that is to rest my body. So I can't be like up and about, and I have to like have one day where I can get stuff done that I don't
Exactly,
do
yeah.
because I'm going from gym to gym.
But it's crazy though when you're in fight camp how much our like lives change, because we're always on the go,
Mhm.
always doing stuff, and then it's just like you just train.
Yeah, it
You
comes to a
train
halt.
and like relax.
We
That's
have
it.
like two lifestyles we live.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
One
we-
is so extreme where we're like constantly doing something. And the other is just train and maybe an hour of TV.
yeah, and I think that the reason why when I'm not in camp we like are always wanting to do something because I'm like, well, I don't know when the next fight's gonna be, so let's take advantage of it now. So we're
Right.
like trying to cram everything in. The 4 weeks after my fight, we're trying to cram everything in and do everything with like. It feels like we're doing so much stuff, but I'm like, we haven't seen like our friends in a while, so we got to make our rounds with them and go out to certain restaurants we want to go out to, or like visit family and do all that. So it's like we try to cram everything in, so it's even more opposite of what I am in camp.
Right.
But I like appreciate it so much that you're like so in like even when I'm in camp, you're into it.
Well, it's
'Cause-
just the way what it has to be.
Yeah, because sometimes I feel bad. I'm like, well, I'm ready to go to bed early, but like it's not always like fair to you because
No, that's just what it is.
yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so it goes quick, but feeling good 1 month out.
Yeah, I just wish it was like sooner.
Well, it'll go so quick. 1
Because
month
I'm
is
like,
nothing.
last week I like hit that point where I'm like, oh, my cardio's good. I was like, I could fight tomorrow. And then I'm like, all right. Because in the beginning, you're just like, all right, let me get my cardio up. Let me get back in shape. And then like after the first 2 weeks of camp, I was like, all right, well, now I'm in shape. So like,
Right.
I'm like, fuck,
But
it's
you're-
still
y-
so far away.
yeah.
I'm ready to do it now. I want to go now.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll go quick. But there's really good fights this weekend. I thought the card was amazing.
Yeah. I mean, we watch every fight pretty much.
Yeah, it was just an amazing card. We'll talk about a few of them. One of the fights on the prelims that was like, it almost felt like we had money on it. I don't know why, but that Alexei Olenek versus Vendera.
We were like
Olenek
screaming.
just goes out there and he is like 45 years old and he looks like he's, older than that.
Yeah.
And he
definitely
doesn't
looks
move
older.
super good, and you're like almost like concerned, like he's going to get hurt.
Like, why did the commission let him fight?
Yeah. And then once they get in any type of, grappling exchange, you could tell that guy was in a little bit of trouble.
Well,
And
he
they
like
just
pulled
clung to him
half
and-
guard.
Yep. And he got into like a deep half guard situation and latched onto his leg. Then eventually, created like a jujitsu exchange. Like that guy should have just kicked off and went up, but he threw up a triangle.
Mm-hmm.
So Olenek obviously knows how to clear a triangle. He cleared it, and then now he's on top. and he did that scarf hold or whatever,
Mhm.
and just absolutely insane. It was his 60th win. 60th. He's
Win.
60, 16 and 1. 77 fights.
That's so wild.
It was his 46th submission. 46.
That's
So insane.
It's crazy. I liked at the end when the post fight interview, they're like, okay, like I think they were like waiting to see if they're like, oh, he might retire now.
Yeah, it would have been a good fight to go out on.
Yeah. And they're like, so, you're 44, you had this great career. So what do you think's next for you? And they're like, do you see yourself fighting more? And he's like, another 5 or 10 years.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I like him even more. It was just like, he's like, looks like such an old man in there. And then in the beginning of the fight, he's starting to get
You're
hit.
concerned for him.
I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to see him get hurt. Like, I feel so bad. And then when he got that scarf hold, I was like, he's going to get this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because you said that we talked to Steve Mako and he says that because he usually does the Ezekiel.
Well, he does that, but he does a scarf hold a lot too.
Yeah. And then remember Steve Mako said he's like, obviously trains with him at ATT and says his like hold is insane.
Yeah. He says just like sometimes he'll just squeeze your head, like just get on your head.
Remember
and
he said
squeeze
his head.
And then he said one time he had like a bruise like around the side of his head. So there's not like a move where you just squeeze someone's head, but I guess apparently he does it like trying to pop a watermelon, but squeezing the head and he'll get submissions.
I mean, as Steve
out of
Mako
that.
says, it's like insane, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's Marab always does that scarf hold in training.
Yeah, some people do that. You've seen Josh Barnett's won grappling matches like that.
Yeah.
It's more like a judo technique, I guess, which why Marab does
Marab
it.
does
Judo,
it in
catch wrestling.
Yeah, he does it in training to people all the time, like high level people, and it's like one of those moves that's so frustrating because it's like those moves that you tell people don't do that, it doesn't work, but some people have like a weird feel for it and it works, so you can't tell them no.
I always say that there's no such thing as a bad technique. There's effective technique and ineffective technique.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as bad technique.
Yeah.
If it's effective, then that's what you should be doing.
Yeah.
But it's probably not for everyone.
Definitely not.
Then the next fight I thought was really good was Aspen Ladd and Raquel Pennington.
Mm-hmm.
I predicted Aspen Ladd to win that, and I feel bad about that because I forgot how good Raquel Pennington is. She's a really skilled fighter. Her grappling is very good. And her boxing looked good. And she's tough. Like she swings really hard, goes forward. She's a tough fighter.
Yeah, I always during fights, like me, Ryan, and Sarge, we have a group chat and we always like talk about the fights. And I think even Sarge said, she's like, every fight I forget how good Raquel Pennington is, and it's kind of true. I feel the same way. She has really I always think, I was like, well, she's a good grappler, she's gonna be good on the cage, and then she's boxing. I'm like, I remember her last fight being like, wow, her boxing's really good, like it's technical. She's like good. Inside dirty boxing. She's good at uppercuts, and she's always in shape. So
this was her 4th win in a row. So I mean, maybe one more win, and then you could see her fighting like the winner of Amanda and Juliana Pena. But I guess if Amanda won, they'd rematch that. But she's in the hunt. She's in the position to possibly get a title shot. But I think Aspen Ladd didn't really try to wrestle enough. The one time she did, she looked really good. But aside from that,
she started slow. I feel like
slow.
That was just like maybe an inexperience for her that cost her the fight, because I think that she could beat Raquel Pennington. She could beat Raquel Pennington. She just kind of started it a little slow and just need just a little bit more output, and she probably would have gotten that win. Yeah.
Then what do you think, Derns and Torres?
I don't totally remember. I remember after the fight thinking, wow, it's really close. I think Tisha Torres won, but whatever. It's like one of those fights I'm not disagreeing with it, but I remember after the fight thinking Tisha Torres won, but I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, it was a close fight. The only thing that stands out to me was that exchange where Mackenzie Dern like jumped guard and was like standing guard, and she had that Kimura along the side of the cage.
I could not watch Kimuras.
Yeah. There's one position, I mean, Mackenzie Dern ended up winning, but there's one situation early in the fight where Torres was trying to take her down, And then she was like resisting the takedown so much. Like
Mackenzie was resisting.
Mackenzie was defending the takedown so
Mhm.
much. And I was thinking like, if I had that level of jujitsu and my striking wasn't great, I would like welcome the takedown, because once
Yeah.
you're on the ground, now it's jujitsu, right?
Mhm.
It doesn't really matter if you're on top or bottom.
Right.
At-
And
it was
she,
someone of her
especially
level.
for her, because
Yeah.
she has a really good guard.
So I don't understand why she was like fighting the takedown so much, but because if it would have stayed standing the entire time, you know, she's probably not going to win.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It was interesting strategy, but she ended up winning. That weight class is weird because she is definitely good, but there's like 4 or 5 girls I think that are quite a bit better.
Yeah.
So I don't know. She's not necessarily like in the title hunt, I don't think.
No. It probably would have been better for her if she didn't win that fight.
Well, because now she's going to fight someone,
Yeah.
you know, really good.
Yeah. I saw they finalized a rematch for Johanna and Whaley.
I saw that. Yeah. That's
That-
fun.
That's fine. I feel like that's what everyone's been waiting for, but it's so crazy. Like Johanna hasn't fought since the last time they fought.
Crazy.
I fought like that was before COVID. Like
No, it was right during COVID. 'Cause
well,
remember
it was
she-
before the lockdowns.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But she hasn't fought since then. That's a long time.
Right.
I don't understand how fighters do that.
I don't understand that either.
Especially if there's no like injury. Like obviously if you tear your ACL, you have to.
Yeah.
But that's so crazy. It's really crazy to me when you take that much of a time off and you're in the top of the division.
But a lot of fight, that's not super uncommon.
Mm-mm.
Like people are just like, Kaylin fights so much. And I don't think you fight so much. I think you just fight consistently.
Mm-hmm.
Like you fight 3 times a year, basically,
Mhm.
like on
Yeah.
average.
Yeah.
And that's what you think fighters should be doing, but
Right.
most people are not doing that. So if you
No.
fight twice a year and then you fight 3 times a year, that's, you know, a third more,
Right.
right? So it
And then
it adds
add
up.
like 1 year you fight 4 times. Now it's like
Right, right.
and that's basically what happened. Like I think I fought 5 times in 13 months.
Right.
And then the next technically year maybe was 2, but it's like
And now
7
this year
times.
you're already at 2 before
Yeah.
June, right?
Yeah, but it's just crazy to me. Like I mean, you see it a lot. Like that's how like Dominic Cruz has always been like that with injuries. Like Tatiana Suarez is like that.
I mean, even Aljamain this fight, it was
Yeah.
over a year.
Yeah, exactly. When you're fighting at that highest level and you don't, I'm like, I would be like, you know, because even if there's injuries and there's long times where you're not training, you know, it's different if like fights keep getting canceled, but usually then you don't go that long.
Right. But yeah, I think you just fight consistently.
Yeah.
And then over time, it looks like you fight all the time.
I think that's something that, because now it seems like fighters are getting into the UFC a little bit younger. If they have success, I feel like they should take time off once they're in, to develop skills a little bit more. Because if you get in, you can get into the UFC young, but then, and if you're doing good and you win those first 2 fights, now you're getting thrown up. Like you might want to like win like your first 3 fights and then maybe like take a year off where you're like legit training, not a year off of that, but like a year where you're like skill developing and then go kind of back to it. You know what I
Right.
mean? Just so you just see sometimes people, they get pushed up and it's like, not that they're not good or they couldn't be good enough, but if they had a little bit of time to develop a little bit more skills, then they'd be able to, you know, win some of those higher ranked fights.
Well, that's kind of like the next fight we're going to talk about is Burns and Chimaev.
Mhm.
Chimaev's a good example of that. He fought 3 times, 3 or 4 times, 3
Mhm.
times. I think, yeah, 3 or 4 times. And now he's fighting the number 2 guy at
Mhm.
probably maybe the most difficult weight class.
Yeah.
And I know like recency bias, it's hard to say, but in my opinion, that was like the best fight I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But recency bias.
Of course, because I feel like
tough,
we say this about a lot of fights.
I know that people were saying that Gagey Chandler, which was, you know, a few months ago, this to me was much better. It was much more competitive.
Yeah, that one was just like
Gagey just beat
wild.
up Chandler, I thought.
Yes, that was just more like wild.
It was wild, but it wasn't, you weren't like, oh, who's going to win?
Mhm.
This was, I do think Chimaev did win,
Yeah,
but it was a scrap.
I think he definitely won, but Burns' stock went up.
Oh my God.
I mean, to people, I was talking about this today, to people that know Gilbert Burns or like diehard fans, they love him. he just kind of has that personality. His fighting style is always good. But I think some of the common fans, he's just like, oh, he's just a Brazilian fighter.
But he's just, you could just tell, like, fighting's in his bones.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he just wants to compete, wants to fight the best people. Like, the one time he kind of knocked Chimaev down, or maybe Chimaev slipped or whatever, and then while he was down, he kicked right at him, just almost like a soccer kick, and he missed him. Otherwise, it would have been an illegal strike, but he's just fighting. A fighter. He's just a fight.
Because then sometimes people could be like, oh, you don't know the rules. He's fighting.
No,
he's
just
like
fighting.
Almost like blacking out a little bit at some points.
Yep.
I remember when I fought at MSG. So him and Luque, they always train together, and sometimes they like corner each other. And I remember it was after I fought earlier, it was me and Luque were in the same locker room, warm up room. And then so when I was done, I was like in the locker room, like get my stuff together. I was just sitting there, and they were warming up together. So like Gilbert Burns wasn't, he didn't have a fight coming up.
Partner.
Yeah, he was just a partner, and he had like, they were basically like full-fledged sparring.
Yeah.
But obviously Gilbert Burns is like taking the beating.
Right.
Just to help his friend warm up. And they were going so hard. And then I was like, oh my God. And then in between rounds, they were like, had the clock on. We're doing rounds. In between rounds, Gilbert Burns was sitting next to me. And he was like, oh my God. And then he like looked at me, and I was like, damn, you guys are going. I was like, it's pretty tough. He's like, only one more round. And then the bell rang and he went up again. And I was just like, oh my God, these guys are like just full-fledged, like sparring, and he's just taking it. I thought it was kind of cool to see, like,
well, that's probably why he just keeps getting better, because he probably trains like that all the time. And then he'll jump into like grappling matches against
that's
the
fun.
best grapplers in the world. Like, he loves training, loves competing.
I think
I was really rooting for him. I almost felt like I had money on that fight, but I didn't. But I really wanted Gilbert Burns to win that. He came up a little short, but it was definitely an amazing fight.
Yeah. Side note, what you said, like how they train together and stuff. I think that's an important thing, and I'm lucky I have that with Sajara, where it's pretty much just me and her. We don't have a full team. It's just me and her, and because it's just me and her, like, like right now she's not in camp, so she's got to come in and spar me, who is like motivated. It's hard when you go in and spar the person when you're like not in peak shape, and the person's getting in peak shape, and they have just that extra motivation is a main thing too, because you're like, me and Sarge will spar when we're not in camp, and then when she gets a fight booked and I don't have on that first sparring session, I'm like, oh fuck, like she's turning it up, and I'm like, oh, I hope I have that, like, I gotta have that motivation too. But I think that because we only have each other, so when she's in camp and I'm not, I'm forced to get better, because I'm like, well, I have to be in shape, I have to help her, and I'm doing constant sparring with a competitive person all the time, not just in a room like kickboxing, people. And I think like that's kind of how like Aljo and Marab are. Yeah. I mean, they have a whole bunch of people, but maybe team that aren't like big teams where you just come in and spar. But if you have like one or two training partners that you like are good friends with, you train, and like, I think me and her got so much better because like after training, after we go together all the time, we know what we're doing, and I'll be like, I was trying to do this, doesn't work, and she'll be like, oh, do this. But if it's just a sparring partner, you're like, oh, I was trying to, did I almost get that? They'll be like, not really, even if it was. But we have like no ego because we go together all the time. I think having like a close training partner like really help you guys, really help each other out. That's a advantage of having that rather than just a big gym where you just go in and there's random people. Yeah,
you're right. But Chimaev's power was something that I was most impressed with. Like, he swings so hard. Single thing he threw looked like a knockout punch. And even though I think he did get tired, the power stayed. Yeah. Like, he was hurting Gilbert in the third round even when he was tired. But his power is just tremendous. Like, I think his striking is like kind of more impressive than his wrestling. I mean, his wrestling's super, super good, but I could see like I think he'd have a hard time taking down like Kamaru Usman.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm talking the very, very best. I think he'd have a hard time taking down Kamaru Usman, but his power, you can tell he can crack.
Yeah, I wasn't necessarily like, oh my God, his striking's so good, but I was like, damn,
his power.
Yeah. It was like his punches almost looked a touch slow, but at the end it had like a little extra like whip on it where I was like, it looks like his hands are like almost like hammers. Like at the end it had like an extra thud on it.
Yeah, I am really excited for that potential Colby fight with him. Now, the difference between Colby and Gilbert is Gilbert has one punch knockout power. He's finished a lot of people with that like overhand right. Colby doesn't have that, but I think Colby will be even more difficult than Gilbert to take down.
Oh,
because his scrambling ability is so good. I know Gilbert's like a better, technically jiu-jitsu person, but Colby's scrambling is really, really high level.
And his like pressure and with all his cardio with the scramble. I think it would be,
but I mean, he's gonna have to eat a couple of big shots.
Oh, of course. I think for Colby, the sooner the fight happens, the better it is.
I agree.
You know what I mean? I mean, obviously, I think it'll happen soonish, but not like you don't want it to wait for another year. I would probably try to get like a couple months.
Yeah, that would really then Colby would have to fight Usman again. If that happens, he'd have to if he beat him.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It was interesting that before the fight with Burns and Colby even happened, Dana said, "Oh, if Chimaev wins, the fight with Burns and Chimaev." If Chimaev wins, he's gonna fight Colby. Dana never, ever, ever, ever does that. Like he just like never makes plans before. Sometimes I'll be like, it's a title contender, but he doesn't really do that. And I remember thinking that, and I was like, damn, like they're not giving Gilbert Burns any respect, right. But yeah, that was a really, really good fight.
Really good fight. Then Sterling, Aljamain, and Jan. That was another really, really close fight. Great win by Aljamain. What'd you think of that fight?
Yeah, I thought it was really good. I thought at the end, Aljamain won. Some people, I saw even Dana was like, that was a ridiculous call.
It was definitely not a ridiculous
I was like,
call.
Whoa. Either way, if either one of them won, I think it wasn't a ridiculous call. It was a close fight. I think they had 2-2. It all comes down to round one. Yes. Who won round one? And I remember after we were watching it, right when we were watching it in the moment, right away, you were like, "Oh yeah, I think Jan got that."
No, that's not what I said. I said it's a draw. I thought it was going to be a draw, and I text my brother that too.
Yeah, no, I'm saying after the first round.
Oh, after the first round, yeah. What I thought, how I scored it was I had Jan winning rounds 1, 4, and 5, but I had Aljo winning 10-8, at least in the second. I thought was the 10-8. So 10-8 and then 10-9. So that turns out to be a draw because he won 3, but he had 1 10-8. So I scored that as a draw.
Yeah,
because the fact that wasn't a 10-8 round, the second round. What is a 10-8 round then?
Well, if the second round's a 10-8, then the third round's a 10-8.
I don't know about that.
He had
the
a
third
little bit
one
more
he just
striking.
held. The second one, I thought he came close to finishing.
Yeah, he was
times.
going for chokes and had striking. Yeah. That's true. I agree. I thought both of them. I kind of thought both of them should be a 10-8 round, but they don't. But I didn't think that they would give a 10-8 round. I was like, I think they should, but they definitely are not going to give. They do not give 10-8 rounds for grappling or wrestling. They only give 10-8 rounds for like punching power. Even if you, which I think is crazy, if you get like 3 submissions in one round where you almost get it, that technically to me, shouldn't that be a 10-8 round? Because if you like almost knock someone out 3 times in a round, it's definitely a 10-8 round. So if you almost submit someone, like, when it's like, are they tapping?
They get like saved by the bell when their arms totally locked out.
Yeah. If that happens multiple times in one round, why it shouldn't? Because that's how you end a fight. That means you were so close to ending a fight. So I think that should be, but they never do that. They only do it for like ground and pound or like knockouts pretty much. Right. Or just like punching power, like punching beatings.
Or I think of it too, like, so the round where Aljo took him down in like 10 seconds and stayed on his back for 4 minutes and 50 seconds and almost finished him a few times, that's scored the same as Gilbert Burns and Chimaev, any of those rounds when they both did tons of damage and it was super back and forth. No way. I mean, they used 10 times more. Aljo was much more dominant.
Yeah, they're not giving enough value for the control. Because some people I've heard the argument, they're like, well, he didn't do damage. He was just controlling him. I'm like, do you know what level of control that was? Because like you said,
Totally incapacitated.
yeah, if the other one's a 10-9 for someone, how is that, the control? I feel like that's why like you almost can't even, I feel like 10-8 rounds are like wild cards. They're like rarely.
You can't rely on them.
Yeah, you can't rely on them.
I'm going to get a 10-8 to steal this fight.
Anytime we watch fights and we're like, oh, is that a 10-8? I'm like, no, because they don't give them out that often. They do, but
I thought in that fight that it was going to be a draw because of a 10-8. But either way, it worked out.
The first round was basically just the dilemma of pressure versus like points. So Jan was pressuring him a lot and would land like maybe like one hard shot, get him on the cage, then he'd roll out. Where Aljamain was moving back, but he was kicking him a lot, outpointing him. And I'm definitely biased because I'm more like, I fight going backwards a lot. And I've had that where they're like, oh, she shouldn't have won that round. She was like going back the whole time. I'm like, well, sometimes I think they praise pressure a little bit too much. I think pressure should be a factor when it's completely tight, when nothing happened in the fight, then you go to that. Kind of like if it's dead even, you give a takedown. But if you are pushing me back the whole time, but I'm not getting touched and you're getting touched, that just means you're dumb. You're just walking into something the whole time. You're not, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally agree.
But I feel like a lot of times in MMA, they do like cage control and pressure. They praise that a lot.
Yeah, it's hard to score. That's
all opinion.
It's a difficult round to score. The first round, anytime a fight is like that, it's difficult to score. But the other point I wanted to make about that, Aljo's victory is you got to talk about Ray Longo a little bit.
I love Ray so much.
Ray Longo has coached Matt Serra in a championship fight, finishing GSP.
Underdog.
Chris Weidman in a championship fight, finishing Anderson Silva.
Underdog.
And now Aljo beating Petr Yan. Like
Underdog.
Those are three of the best champions in those respected weight classes ever. GSP, Anderson Silva,
Petr Yan.
Those are you could say those are the three best at that weight class all time.
Yeah.
And Ray Longo has trained someone to win all those fights.
That's amazing.
That is so crazy to me. And I'm trying to think like what other coach could you put in like that type of conversation? Because nobody talks about Ray Longo.
They really don't. I mean, the only time I feel like they talk about him is like, if they get like a clip of him like talking in the corner and they just like,
Right. But when you think of like the legendary coaches, like people always talk about like Faraz Sahabi and they,
Trevor
Whitman,
Mark Henry Hoof.
Yeah, Mark Henry Hoof. Javier Mendez. I was trying to think of someone who has like three like champions that they developed the whole time. And it's difficult because like Henry Hoof has probably coached three different champions, but that's at a super gym. People are flying from all over the world, moving to live in South Florida and train at this enormous facility. They're already very established fighters. Trevor Whitman's very hot right now, with Rose and Usman, Gagey. But Usman went there after he was already the champion.
Yeah.
Right? Now, Javier Mendez, he's been at the same place for a long time. But again, a lot of people move to AKA. But he's coached, Luke Rockhold was a champion, Cain Velasquez champion, Khabib, Daniel Cormier. So there's four I can name right off the top of the bat. But again, they came from all over. Like DC moved there from, Oklahoma or Louisiana.
Yeah, that one I think now that you're breaking it down, I'm like, they probably trained a lot there.
Yeah.
They wrestled before. But I mean, I guess like you could argue like, well, Aljo and Weidman wrestled before, like did jujitsu, but that's pretty, but the that's pretty impressive now that you said. I kind of like, when you're breaking it down for the Javier Mendez, I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah,
wow.
Javier Mendez, I think, is the only one that you can compare Ray Longo to.
Right.
It's just because he has tons of other really good guys, but so does Ray. Ray's had plenty of good guys in the UFC. He still does. But it's just a small gym on Long Island which isn't it's not like drawing people from all over the world. It's the fact that he has 3 champions from spanning over like 15 years is really crazy.
I was listening to on Brendan Schaub's companion. They were talking about how like certain coaches that aren't from, it's almost like more, it's different. It's like, so you look at like Trevor Whitman, this is kind of how like Mark Henry is. They don't, these places where they have really good fighters and they're like, it's not a super gym. How are they
Right.
doing that? It's like, well, you're getting a lot more focus from a really high level coach. Whereas sometimes at like, you know, ATT, you have a lot of training partners, which there's definitely a lot of benefit from that. But how much individual training or focus are you getting from that coach?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when we go like right now, Mark's full focus is on me, Corey. Like, I mean, right now is me, Corey, and Sajara. Like, he's one of the best coaches in the world, and he's just focusing on 3 people. He's
Right.
not teaching a class. He's not, and that's kind of how like Trevor Whitman is, and that's how like Ray Longo is too. He goes with and he's watches them and is so focused on those people.
Mark Henry has had 2 champions,
Yeah,
Frankie and Eddie.
yeah,
That's really good too.
And
Same type of position.
and he's a part-time coach.
Yeah.
I think that's what's crazy for him. He does it on the side for fun.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You know what I mean? That's why I think for him it's obviously I'm biased because I train with him. But yeah, I mean,
But shout out to Ray Longo.
Yeah.
So impressive.
He's
Just
awesome,
A
and
really
he's
remarkable career.
the nicest person. For like years I go and spar you know, Jenny and Mia, the 2 pro kickboxer girls from that train under Ray Longo. Since before I even lived on Long Island, I would go there and spar with them, and he's always like so welcoming and like, you know what I mean? I spar with, like, I'm going there to spar them, but he still will like give me pointers or help me
Yeah.
out and stuff, and I'm like appreciate it so much. I'm like, what do you think? Whatever you say, like, what do you think? You know, I like to
Yeah.
get like other people's opinion, that even if they don't train me, because then I feel like sometimes it's not as biased.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
like
that's
if you
true.
ask your coaches all the time, they know what they see you do in the gym. So sometimes it's kind of nice to get opinions from other people that are super smart and high level that don't really know you like that.
Yeah, I hope people start. Man, maybe I miss it. Maybe they do talk about Ray like but it just seems like you always hear about the same people, like Trevor Whitman, Faraz
Yeah.
Sahabi. But like Faraz Sahabi at GSP, which is, you know, probably the best fighter ever. But, you know, it's not like over and over again for all those years.
Right.
Dominant champions, beating the best people ever. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Greg Jackson's another one. He's probably coached a lot of champions.
Yeah.
But again, that's a super gym. It's like the first super gym.
Yeah, you're right. Probably is.
But yeah, then the last fight, Volkanovski and Zombie. It was almost like I could have went to bed before that fight. And Volkanovski's like
we
my
almost
favorite
did.
fighter.
We were second guessing it. We're like, should we just go to bed? Like, it's so late.
But he's at the point where he's so good. It's like, it's not really exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was no chance that Zombie could have beaten him. It looked like the number 1 ranked guy versus the number 8 ranked guy. And that's what it was. I don't know. I'd like to see him
Even
fight
worse.
Max Holloway again. That's kind of exciting, but anytime you're up 2-0, it's weird to do that third fight.
Yeah, but I think with those two, the fights are so good that you'd be into it.
But Henry Cejudo says he wants to come in and fight Volkanovski. I'd rather Henry try to get his belt back first. I'd rather him stay at his weight class.
At 135?
And then
Or
maybe-
125?
No, 35.
Okay.
Try to get his belt back and then maybe go up. But I don't think that he should just jump to the very front of the line necessarily and fight.
I saw he just
Volkanovski.
entered back into the USADA testing
Yeah.
pool.
But then I saw Volkanovski said he might go up to 55.
Oh,
and fight
wow.
someone. I'd like to see that too.
That'd be cool.
But either way, if Henry fights him, that would be great. But
For those that don't know, say I just signed a 6-fight contract. So say after this fight, I was like, you know what, I'm done fighting, or I want to retire. I still have those fights. So say I'm like, I'm gonna retire, and then I wait like a year or two, and then I'm like, you know what, I changed my mind. I want to fight again. Well, when you like retire and you go out of USADA testing, You have to tell them, so then they stop testing you. But then if I want to fight again, you have to enter USADA testing, and you have to be in the system for like 4 or 5 months before you could fight. So you can't just retire for a year and then come back and be like, oh, I want to fight next month. You have to go into the testing pool, wait 4 or 5 months to get tested, and then you can fight. So that's where Henry
Right.
just entered that. So that means he's going to be drug tested from USADA for 4 or 5 months before he would be able to take a fight if he wants.
Yeah, that would be cool. I'd like to see him fight Volkanovski. I think it's a hard fight because Volkanovski's grappling is really good.
Wrestling,
He's
yeah.
very hard to take down.
Yeah.
And not that Henry really does takedowns. He just like basically almost like a karate style, it looks like to me.
Yeah.
With good boxing too. So is he going to outstrike Volkanovski? That's what it would come down to, because he doesn't do takedowns. He's not a grappler in his fights. Very, very seldom.
Yeah. That's
He took down Demetrius Johnson a few times, but
yeah.
Aside from that, he's mostly a stand-up fighter, which is difficult against Volkanovski. He's so fast, explosive.
Yeah. I'd be interested in that fight though.
Yeah, of course.
I mean,
Definitely.
But I mean, for right now, for that weight division, if he came back, you said, oh, he shouldn't get an immediate title shot. But I think,
maybe
it depends on the division. It's like if there's right now, him or Max Holloway 3. I think Henry.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
I mean, he was like,
Yeah, you're right.
double champ and then just retired. So I kind of think that he could do that.
Yeah, he's been out a while now. He's been out over 2 years.
Yeah. What was his last fight? Was it
Dominic Cruz? Yeah,
okay.
it was a while.
Yeah.
So we got anything else?
I think we're good.
No, that's all I got.
That's all you got, Zane?
That's all I got.
Yeah.
That's all
Zane
I
doesn't
got.
watch the fights. I was gonna say
Zane's got a big match this weekend.
Oh yeah.
Let's go.
Oh, yeah.
Is it no time limit?
No. You think I'm that big?
What is it?
I'm just a small name, dude.
What
No,
is
the
it,
no
though?
time limits they usually do for like.
I think it might be judge's decision.
How long is the match?
Probably like 7-8 minutes.
70 minutes.
That's long.
Yeah.
And no overtimes or anything?
No overtimes.
Do you like that rule set?
Honestly, I don't know, dude. I feel like my game, like I like to pull bottom, so like I'm like the one taking all the risk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like in like a judge's decision rule set, like not a lot of guys like no guard like that.
Oh, that's true.
So it looks like I'm
They don't
like
appreciate-
already It looks like I'm already like
yeah.
Right.
And then if the person's just trying to like spaz out and pass, it's like, oh, they're being the aggressor. It's like, no, they just aren't even coming close to
So
passing
why
my
don't you
guard.
just wrestle some? Try to wrestle.
I wrestled when I was fat, dude. I don't know if I still got it in me.
You got it. You have to believe in it.
I just gotta. My plan is just to go out there and try to end the match as soon as possible,
That's
That's a
good.
good plan.
so I can come back and edit for Burn the Boats.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Zane's got 7 pounds to cut
Yeah,
ish.
yeah, it's not fun,
But he ate a salad, so we're happy with that.
Yeah, definitely. All right, thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
help me keep my job.
Help Zane keep his job.
If we don't get more subscribers, Zane's out.
He's got till October to get some subscribers.
Kyle, stop. All right, bye guys.